Thank you. Our guest speaker today is Denita Wallace, the first time here as a speaker. Denita has been studying metaphysics since her father first took her to Religious Science Church in Salem, Oregon, 1960. Although her life path took her from studying biology at the University of Oregon through various iterations of service jobs, molecular biology lab work, and sales, her heart was always prompting her to learn more of the universe and our part in its creation. She is a certified programming linguistic practitioner. Denita studied for 2 years in psychic development at Berkeley Psychic Institute. She also studied a course in miracles for years. At Unity of Salem since 1997, she gives frequent talks as well as doing several other functions at the church. She has recently published The Matter of Perception, a novel of manifesting a better life in the face of personal hardship. Denita is having a workshop at 12:30 in the Spirit Gatherers Room, and after we had some lunch and stuff. So I'd like to welcome Denita to
Good morning. Good morning. Darcy, I loved your song. Am I not quite loud enough?
A little bit louder.
I wonder if we can turn this up.
Yeah, she's doing it right.
Good. Hello, hello, hello. Get it closer to your mouth. I do.
There we go.
I tend to have a light voice, and it becomes exhausting to try to project. So thank you. And I want to thank you for the car healing I had this morning on the way out here. For about a month, my car has been beeping at me constantly, incessantly. Beep, 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 beep. And it tells me that a door is open, but there's no door open. And it's extremely annoying. But since I was going to come up here this morning to speak with you, I decided yesterday to wash my car. And so I washed my car and put it back in the garage, and this morning got in and started driving up here, and there were no beeps. A car healing. Well, when I was prepared to come up and speak with you, I was told that you all have a monthly theme. And each theme is about one of the 12 powers from Unity. And this month, the theme was understanding. Understanding is kind of a funny thing, isn't it? I mean, it's really not a thing. It's not like you can walk around already having understanding. So, Unity Worldwide has a website, and they talk about the 12 powers. So I read what it says, Unity says about understanding, and I'm going to read it to you now. The awakening of our own faculty of understanding starts with questioning the old ways of thinking that may have been taken for granted. The desire for understanding leads to thinking about what is learned and seeking to put it all together in a body of information that will provide a basis for living. So it's not a thing. It's more of a process. And couldn't we use a little more understanding in the world today? I mean, I kind of think that would be seriously the most valuable power that we could have to be able to use. But there is a problem, and that is that it seems to be inaccessible to many of us because of blocks to the pathway. What are those blocks? I think one of the main ones is thinking that we know, also known as judgments. A Course in Miracles has a quote that I use all the time. I have it like printed on my computer at home. It goes like this: I do not know what anything, including this, means. And so I do not know how to respond to it. And I will not use my own past learning as the light to guide me now. Letting go of knowing. It's scary for some people. Fear of the unknown. And quite often that manifests as wanting to walk around thinking we know and not being willing to let go of that. I had an experience once as a sales rep for Roche. We sold biochemicals to scientists that were doing molecular biology research. And in my area, there were like 3 different reps. We were in the San Francisco Bay Area, so there were 3 of us, and a manager of a larger area. And we hired a new person for one of the territories, and he came from a different industry, so he was not a scientist. And but he was a top sales rep where he came from. Well, he was struggling, and it got so bad that our manager asked me if I would work with him and find out what was wrong. And so I did. And when we went to see customers, he would say, do you do this, a particular scientific procedure? Let's use an example of like northern blots. Do you do northern blots? And they would say yes. And he would jump in and say, well, we got this kit for northern blocks. And not only that, but it's non-radioactive. And you could, on and on. You would tell all of the features and benefits. And then the scientist would kind of look at him and go, well, I'll think about it and walk away. So I told him, you need to understand your customer better. And he said, well, how do I do that? And I said, how about asking questions? Ask more open questions and get them talking. And he said, well, I can't do that. Why not? Well, they might say something I don't understand. And then I was foolish or stupid. And so I had to explain that scientists do not expect sales reps to be scientists. And so they're happy to be asked. But that's sort of an indication of like how we're so fearful of being wrong or not knowing the answer already. And that's something we have to let go. Another thing that sort of overlays that blocks the pathway to understanding is values. And it's hard to pinpoint values as a reason there, mainly because our values are a hierarchy that overlays everything. So they're a lot more general, but they are a hierarchy. So our highest value is what impacts everything we do. So I'm going to tell you a story about myself. It starts at my birth, but it won't take that long. When I was born, the doctor wanted to go on vacation. It was in December. And so he decided to call my mom to come into the hospital and get labor induced so that he could leave. And so she did, and he gave her the drugs to get the labor started. And then, since it was her first time birth, he decided he had plenty of time to go golfing. So eventually, my mother was frowning, and the nurses saw that this was happening and got excited and flustered because the doctor was not there and couldn't be reached. And so she poured a bottle of ether on a rag and put it over my mother's face to stop labor, which also stopped her from being conscious. And she tied my mother's legs together. So, yeah. So anyway, the doctor finally came, and when he saw the situation and the labor had stopped, he used forceps to pull me out. So I was born with forceps bruises on my cone head and a worry that I had been deprived of too much oxygen. And so my parents brought me home. I wasn't going to say this, but my father's first remark after seeing me with the forceps bruises and the cone head, he said, "Well, we'll make sure she has nice clothes and good personality." Believe me, I'm going to get back to the point of this story in a minute. But they watched me worrying that I was going to be mentally deficient for about a month and a half until it became quite obvious that not only was I not mentally deficient, but I was actually pretty precocious. And so they went around going, "She's smart, she's smart." And that continued for the rest of my life. So I would go to classes, "Oh, you're so smart, you'll get a grade. And we know that you're going to be successful in life because you're so smart." So guess what my highest value was? I am smart. And now we're getting to the point. I was working actually in church and in the office, and found myself in tremendous conflict with the new minister there. And what it felt like was that she was micromanaging. She would stand over me and demand that I do various different accounting reports. And she would ask for one and then another, and then she'd go back and ask for a different one. And if I didn't seem to know exactly what to do when, she would tell me how to go, where to go on the computer to get to that report. And that feeling of micromanagement was just killing me. And I found myself one day in tears. She left, and I just sat there with tears in my eyes. And I decided to pray. And I said, "God, what is it in me that is causing me to react this way and to be so unhappy in this situation?" I went inside to inquire, really, what was going on inside me. And the answer that came up was, guess what? I am smart. Oh. She's pushing the button that makes me feel not smart. And I thought, I don't need that. I don't need to have that value even. It's not important for my happiness. And so, while in prayer, I gave it up. And she came back in the office, and did we ever have a different relationship from that moment on? We did those reports together cheerfully and had a good time doing it. So all of that is to say that, another place to look for blockages in your being able to have understanding is to inquire about your values, what you really value. So once the box to the pathway of understanding are addressed, we can engage curiosity to lead us to understanding. And I'm talking about curiosity about everything. Develop a personality of curiosity. One time when I was doing the chaplain training at Unity Salem, they gave us these little pins that had prayer hands. You've probably seen them. And I thought, how dorky is that? Why would we do this to pray? You know, it's like, that reminds me of other churches when they made me as a child do this to pray. And so guess what? I employed curiosity and did an experiment. So I decided I'll pray like this and see what the difference is. And I did. And oh my gosh, it so focused me in my heart space. It was a tremendous aha that I never would have got had I just roved a little bit and to learn. So curiosity is there for understanding. And that kind of understanding is beyond mental understanding. Nobody can tell you, well, prayer hands are for you to focus. It wouldn't make any sense. So what we need to do is live by a new kind of set of rules in order to be able to employ that power of understanding. To start with, develop an attitude of I don't know. You can't even employ curiosity until you release the need to know or to be the one who already knows. And then identify and release any of your judgments in any situation. Then you can make curiosity a consistent part of your personality. And then, lastly, verify your understanding. Utilizing the power of understanding can change the world. Every time we practice the steps to understanding, we impact others in a positive way. So I'd like to guide you in a little meditation through those steps. If you're willing to make yourself comfortable now, let go of whatever you're holding on to in your laps. Feel the chair, the weight of your body on the chair. Have a breath. It always helps to breathe. And as you close your eyes, just move into that space where you're completely open to spirit. And I'd like you to ask or allow your conscious or your subconscious mind to bring up something that's a conflict or an uncomfortable situation for you now or in the recent past. And let that fully show up in front of your mind's eye. And then realize that you do not understand what's going on. And start to identify what are you thinking about that? What are your judgments about that? It might be with a person or it might even be a situation. Works no matter what. And then become curious as to what kind of understanding would be useful in this situation or with this person. And you can do this in so many different ways. You might float up to the ceiling and look down on the situation and see it from a different perspective. Or if it's another person, you might take their point of view and see yourself from their eyes. You can also, if it's a person, you can ask them what's going on from their perspective. Just because you're the one imagining it does not mean that they can't answer you. And if you feel like you're getting a better understanding of the situation, verify it. Ask more questions. Is this really what you mean? And then have some gratitude for a better understanding. Thank the other person, or if it's a situation, thank them. Thank the situation. Thank God for that power of understanding that you can have through curiosity. And you can begin to move your consciousness now back into the room, into the here and now. And as you're comfortable, open your eyes. Amen. So it is.